Hey everyone, this is our Shopify upgrade series where we recreate features of successful e-commerce brands. And today we're looking at a group of really great brands that all share a similar feature, the comparison chart. So you can see here that Pillowcase, Sweet Dreams, Obvi, and Hollow Socks, they all have a comparison table that highlights the advantages of their products. But this isn't a default feature from Shopify. So normally you need to install an app or hire a developer. But in this video, we're showing you how you can create your own fully customizable comparison tables in just a few minutes that highlight the strengths of your products, which could lead to more conversions and more sales. And if you're looking for more ideas to improve your conversions, then right now we're offering a free personalized action plan. Just visit our website at theprompted.co and fill out the form. If you need some other personalized help and want to hire us, just head over to theprompted.co and book a call. All links will be in the description. All right, so let's take a look at the comparison tables. We're going to first demo the comparison tables so you know what you can do with it. And then we'll show you how you can add this feature to your store. So let's get started. Okay, so we're on our demo store. And if we scroll down here, you can see that there's a comparison chart here. And there's a lot of great features packed into this, tons of formatting settings. So for example, by just changing some settings, you can make another table that looks like this. And if you change some more settings, you can make it look like this. So there's all sorts of formatting options available, and I'm going to go through all of them with you so that you can see how we can take a table like this one and change it to look like this or like this so that you can get the table that you want that matches your brand style. What's also really cool about this customization is that you can use it all over your store. So whether you want it on your product page, your collection page, or home page, it can do that. If you're putting on your product page and you have the need for different comparison tables for different products, it's fully dynamic, controlled with metafields. So for example, you have this chart here, and let's say you want to change this third column from alternative B to a different one. So we actually have a different product here, alternative C, right? So that's actually a completely different column using the exact same template. So you don't have to create tons of different templates for your comparison tables. You just have the one template and control it using metafields. So fully dynamic. And then if maybe you don't want a comparison table for certain products, then you can have that too. So let's just go to another random product here. And you can see here that that table in the this one right here is not showing up. And that's because we didn't set the metafields. So the dynamic nature of it says, oh, okay, we don't actually need it in this product, so it doesn't show up. These other two, we've made them in a static way, so they're going to show up with every single product. So you have that option as well. And you have the same features for the collection page as well. So you can see here, we scroll down, we have a comparison table on the collection page, but you can have different tables for different collections, or you can even have certain collections that don't show a table at all, or it can be the exact same table for all collections and just have it static. So all those same features are available on your collection page, and really any other template as well. As long as it has metafields, you can make it dynamic. Those two features are what I think makes this comparison table customization really, really interesting. So let's hop into our theme editor now to look at some of these settings. Okay, so now we're in our theme editor and we're looking at our default product template for this product. And you can see here that we've got these three comparison charts here. And so this uses the comparison chart section. You can add it by adding section and just coming down to the bottom here. We're going to be adding code in order to get this to show up here. So right now it's probably not going to show up on your side, but later in the video, we'll show you how this can be added to your theme. So there's a whole bunch of settings here. And all of these settings are what allows us to produce these different chart types, right? So they all look very different, and it's just a few settings here that allows us to actually really customize them all. So what we're going to do is in the link where we provide all the instructions and code to add this section to your store, we're also going to put a bunch of settings so that you can recreate these tables just to make it a little bit easier for you. But what we're going to do is we're actually going to add a brand new comparison chart and just start from scratch and show you how we can create some of these tables. So let's actually start with this one here. I'm going to drag this up. So we're right above this one here. And you can see here, these are sort of the default settings, and nothing's really showing up yet. So the first thing we have to do is, well, let's just add some columns. So let's add 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to recreate something like this. We've got 4 columns. The first one being the sort of the feature set. And if we come into one of the columns, you have these 2 options. So it's the source. Is it going to be a meta object, a meta field, and then the handle or the reference of the meta object or meta field that you're going to be looking for. So what does that mean? So in this case, let's start with the meta object entry. So if we come to our meta objects, okay, so here is the meta object comparison chart entries. We created this, and I'll show you later on how to set this up. But there's a list of meta objects that you can create. And so let's, for example, use this one, demo 1 feature list, right? So this here has a list of entries that in this case are features. So beginner friendly, back to features, customizable solutions. So we're going to put that in our first column. And we see this handle here. So you're going to copy this handle and you're going to come to your meta object, meta field reference. You paste that in there and it's just going to show up. Okay, so, and then we're going to do that again for each one of these columns. So the second one is, let's use this one here. So demo 1, the prompted. So here we actually have these yeses, and we also have an image in the column title. So the image is going to be what shows up here. And this yes is going to be converted into a check mark. And so we can show that right now. So let's just copy this handle and we'll paste it into our reference. And you can see it shows up as a check mark. Now it still looks a little bit different here. So let's actually talk a little bit about how this works. So you have first this yes symbol text. So whatever you type in here, in this case it shows yes with square brackets, it's going to look for this string. And you just need to have the exact same series of text. So right, so it's the yes with the square brackets. And if there's a match, then it's going to convert this into a yes symbol, or in this case a check mark. And so if we actually change this to something else, we just add another letter to it, let's say, you're going to see that it just changes it to the actual text because it no longer matches. So you can customize this to whichever, however you want, but I think you could probably leave this alone because there's a very low likelihood you're actually going to need this exact text into your table. Same thing with the no, right? So if we add the next one in, so let's go to demo 1, alternative 1. You're going to see some no's here. So let's just copy the handle. You're going to see there's a column title here as well, alternative A. So no image, in this case, it's a title. Let's go to the third column, paste that in. You can see here, these no's are converted into X's. But if we changed this to, let's just add another letter on top of this, you're going to see here the no's are going to turn into the actual text that's in there. So we don't want to do that. So we're going to keep them as crosses. And now we actually also have a bunch of different options. So this is the default. We've got these check marks and crosses, but you also have it like this, where it can be in a circle or it can be in a square, right? So you got a few different options there. If you don't like the green and red, you can actually use the colors of the table that you've selected. So in this case, we could do this. So we've got black on top of white, right? So because that's what the table colors are. So if I just turn this into a circle, you can see here it's black and white. But if we change the table So let's say I want to change the table background. So you can see here we've got this table formatting section in the settings, and all of these settings here will affect the table formatting. So that's the cell colors, that's the header colors, the font colors, font sizes, all those types of settings are found in here. And where we were just a little bit earlier was this yes and no symbol setting. So we've got, we actually looked at all these different settings already. So let's just come here and let's change the text color and the background color. So cell background color, right now it's white. So let's make it I don't know, let's make it a gray. Or let's go a little bit more different. So make it a green. No, let's maybe go with the gray, because the green has a check mark, the checkmark screen, so I don't want to clash with that. Okay, so we've got this gray here, and then we can change the color of the text to maybe this bluish color here. So you can see here that we've got our check marks now matching the text color, because that's the setting we've selected, right? It's set to match the text color formatting. And so if we actually changed this to a different style, right, you can see here those colors are still maintained. Okay, so what else can we do here? We can actually change the header color as well. So let's say, let's invert the colors. So let's say instead of the background color being sort of a lighter color, let's make it really dark, and let's make the font color lighter. Now you can see here this image doesn't work as well because we can't change the color of the images. So if you wanted a black header, you're going to have to make sure your image works with it. So maybe let's make this a little bit less dark. Let's brighten it up a little bit so we can see it. Okay. So now that we've set up our headers like this, let's add our last column in. So we can use demo 1 alternative 2. So we're going to use this. So just as a reminder, you're going to have to set up all of these meta objects yourself to match the information you need for your store. So, but we're just showing you how you can format things, and then later on when we do the customization to add this to your store, we can go through an example of creating the meta object as well. Okay, so let's add this last column in. There you go. So we've got a comparison chart that's starting to look a little bit interesting. Okay, so let's look at what else we can do. So we can change some of these chart titles. In this case, we actually didn't even use any. So let's just remove those entirely. Let's make this a little bit less wide. Maybe you don't want it to be full width. So let's bring it in a little bit because these symbols are pretty narrow. All right, so this next feature is actually pretty interesting. So style first column as header. So this list of features here is actually a header. They're not features or anything, and maybe you want to style them a little bit differently. So for example, if you come down here, we've got text and text in the header and text in the contents. In this case, we've got symbols, so it's a little bit easier to differentiate. But if you actually have text in here as well, and you want to be able to style it a little bit differently, turn this on, and it's going to take the styling of the header that we've set here, right? So if we actually change this text color to red, then all of this is going to change with it. Okay, now we can move down a little bit. Okay, now we've got this setting, column title image height. So if you have an image in here, you can adjust the size of it. You can make it a little bit bigger, you can make it a little bit smaller. So you can adjust that to your liking. And then cell padding. So if you wanted to make these cells a little bit taller, then you can do that as well. Okay, so next we have borders. With the borders, we have settings to change the color. We can change the width. We can change which borders we're showing. So let's make them more obviously shown. So let's change this to the blue here. Okay, so we can see our blue borders there. We also have an outside border if we want to use it. So we can also use a blue there as well. Okay, so now we can see the outside border here. To make it a little bit more obvious, let's increase the pixel size. There we go. All right, so we can see the outside border and we can see the inside border. Now, if you don't want to separate it by rows, you can separate it by columns. So now you get these columns separating things, or you can have both. You have both the rows and the columns. If you don't want them at all, you can actually just change this right to 0 and then it'll disappear. And same thing with the outside border. If you don't want it to show up, you just change the width to 0, then you no longer have those borders. Finally, you can have a radius around your table. So you've got these square corners here. So you can add a radius, right? So you can actually round those corners. We're using that right here, right? You can round the corners, make it a little bit more sleek. Okay, so now let's keep moving down. We've got this active column formatting now. So you can see here, in this case, this column is the one that we're saying, hey, this is our product. This is the one you should be focusing on. So we haven't done that yet here, but we can. So we can actually choose the column that we want. So you see here, we've got these 4 columns. The second one is the one where we have our the prompted check marks. And you just need to check this box here, mark it as active. And now we have changed the formatting of our active column. You can see here the colors have changed, right? Not just the background, but the actual symbols have changed as well. And that's because we have a whole set of additional settings that are controlling the active column. So, let's say we want to change the color of the header. We can do that. Right now they're matching, but you could make a different color if you wanted. Right? You can make this a green. You can make this a red. Right? You can change this color here to a white, let's say. Right? So you can make that look however you want. And this is starting to look a little bit funny, a mishmash of colors. But when you style things nicely, you can get things that look a lot more sleek and very professional looking. So something like these two here are pretty good. All right, so let's keep moving along. Okay, we've got this empty cell settings value. So I actually just skipped this because we already talked about the yes and no symbols. But the empty cell settings is a situation where if you want to skip a cell, so you have an empty value. So let's say in this case, you've got this empty value here. So what happens in the meta object, you see here. So let's say I want to add an item and I want to place it right there. Once you save, right, that empty cell just gets removed. So what you need to do instead is you need to say skip. So let's take this one and let's just make this one a skip. Save. Okay, now let's just save this and let's refresh. And there you go. You can see here that we no longer have that object in there. It's completely blank because we've placed the text skip in there. Similar to the yes and no, if we just add something in there, change the text, then the actual text skip is going to show up. So it has to have an exact match in order for it to not show up. Okay, and finally, we've got some custom text formatting. So here is, if you want to add styling to your table, to your contents, where you otherwise couldn't do it with the settings above, right? So here is more general. It takes care of the majority of your cells. But if you have like one specific cell you want to change, or you want to, you have some different logic on how you want to do things, then you can actually style your text in that way. So you can see here in this table, we've got, you've got two different styles on this column, and same thing with over here. And so how you do that is you use these flag characters. So you have 3 custom text formatting options. And in each one of these, you have 3 settings. So one is the color, next is the style, and then the final one is the flag that will tell the code which cells, which pieces of information should be styled in that way. So let's go through an example. So first, you can see here this 10 minutes. We can, change it to a blue, right? And sorry. Let's we have to select this table first. We were looking at the wrong table. So here, let's change this to a blue. You can see here that changes to a blue now. You can make this in italics instead of bold. Right, so you can change those. And so how it knows to only change these 2 values is with the flag character. So you see here, this is a double underscore. There's 2 here. And we can go to our meta objects again, come back out. And this one was the demo to the prompted meta object. So we're pulling this information here. And you can see here, we've added a double underscore at the front of that information. And that's how it knows to change these 2. So 10 minutes and free, you can see here, 10 minutes and free. Right here, we have a question, an exclamation mark. And that exclamation mark actually is going to be used to flag custom formatting 3, which is a black text with bold, right? So we can actually change this to a different color, say green, and it will change that to green. And then similarly, this red here is using an asterisk. So we can go to demo to alternative 1. And you can see here, we've got these asterisks in front of these 2 cell values, which is how it flags that these 2 should be red and bold. Now, you can use any flag that you want. I chose these 3 because I felt like there's a very low likelihood your cell contents are going to need these values at the start of your cell. But if for whatever reason you need to use a double underscore or an asterisk or exclamation mark for some other reason in your cell, or you just want to use something else, you can change them, right? So if I change this to something else, if I just add a T there, for example, see, it's not going to work anymore. But if I make it *2, for example, then this one's going to be 4 hours, and then this one's not going to show. These 3 here are just going to show the way it is right now. So let's show that right now. So *2, oops. You can see here now it takes away the star and the 2, and it just formats this to 4 hours. Similarly here, if I do *1. It'll show 2 hours, or asterisk $. You can see here it'll change those, right? So lots of flexibility on how you want to flag your data for those custom settings. And then finally, we've got some just section formatting. So you can change the color scheme, right? So right now it's just this black and white color scheme, but you can change it to whatever you want. So let's say, for example, come back here and let's change this scheme to scheme 5, right? So you can actually change the background here of the whole section. You can change the padding, right? You want to increase it or decrease it, you can do that. So just general section settings there as well. So that's the run through of all these different settings and how you can create all these different tables. So you can see here, these 3 tables, while they look quite different, they're just using this one section and adjusting all these different styles to create the data that you want. And then when used in conjunction with the meta objects, then you've got a lot of flexibility on how you're information is going to show up. So now that we've talked about formatting, let's now talk about how to make this dynamic. So right now, our columns are pulling straight from the meta object. So if we save this and you go to any product, this table is going to show up every single time because we're not looking at metafields. We're looking at the meta objects, which makes it a fixed part of the template. So we can come back to our demo store. We can refresh this page. You can see that table is showing up. You can refresh this page and, oh, sorry, that's a collection page. This page is a product page. So we refresh this and it'll show up there as well, right? So both of them have it. But if you want it to be more dynamic, then what you do is you're going to have to use the one of these metafields. In this case, it's a product, so you have to use the product metafield. If you're in the collection, you have to use a collection metafield. So once we turn this on, you're going to see this the table disappear, and that's because we actually haven't set the metafield yet. So this is the original long sleeves shirt. So if we come to our products, right here. Okay, so we go to our products and let's go to original long sleeves shirt. So you would need to create a meta field. In this case, we've created one already. We've called it comparison chart column 1. And in here, we've placed a meta object. So you can see here, if we press change, all the meta objects we were looking at earlier are available for selection. Those are these meta objects right here. So it's the same list. And now this is how we identify which column we want to connect to our table for this specific product. And if you want to have multiple specific columns for this product, then we would need to create multiple meta fields for that. We'll get into that a little bit later when we start the installation process. But for now, the only thing you need to know is that we have these meta fields here, and we can assign them to whatever meta object we want so that it's product specific, it's dynamic. So let's just leave this alone for now. We've got demo 1 alternative 3 here. So what we need to do is we need to first get the handle of the meta field, or the key. So we can come up here and look at the metafield definition. And you can see here namespace and key. So we're going to grab here the key, and we're going to place that right in here. So this is the reference that we need to place in here. We put that in there, and our table shows up again, right? Because now it finds the information for that product, and it's going to place it in there. And you can see here we've got alternative C in place now. So if we save this, and this is our long sleeves shirt. So if we come back to our product, long sleeves shirt. So if we refresh, we're going to see here, well, before it was showing B, can't show it anymore because I already refreshed, but now it's showing C. So you can see here that we had alternative B here, and there's a space here and a check mark, whereas now it's showing alternative C with all of these X's. So if we refresh, we can see what happens. And you can see here that the table completely disappears. And that's because we haven't actually set the meta field yet for this product. So that's how we can get this dynamic behavior where if you don't want certain products to have the table, and some of them do, then you just use the meta fields to control that. And you've got the same behavior for collections. So for example, if we come back out, we go to our collections page, default collection. So right now, I think these are all, oops, let's delete that column. These are all using meta object entries. So this is a fixed table. All collections are going to be showing it. But if we change this to a collection meta field, you're going to see this disappear. And then we just need to specify our column to be a metafield reference, so we can actually do that real quick. So we actually have a metafield here that we set up, and we've already assigned a meta object to it. So let's just get this, the metafield key right here, and let's place that right there and save. And so you can see here that the table still doesn't show up. And that's because the collection we were just looking at is actually the t-shirts collection. And this collection that we're looking at is black shoes. So if we just go to our t-shirt collection now, we're going to see here that the table is now there. And this is the dynamic information. This is also dynamic for collections. So that's how we can do this for collections as well. It's the same type of process. It's just whether we're using collection metafields or product metafields. Okay, so that's pretty much all the settings. Now, I know that was a lot of information. There's quite a few settings that you can tweak here. So if you need to, just go back and rewatch certain parts of this video to kind of see the examples, see the different settings and how they affect the table, and just play around with it as well so that you can really get a handle on what each setting does. Now, like I mentioned previously, we are going to give you the settings for these 3 tables here. So if you want to use one of these as your starting point to go from there, then hopefully that will make it a little bit easier for you. But yeah, if this is something you want to add to your store, keep on watching because we're now going to show you how. All right, so we're in our Shopify admin, the themes area, and we've just installed a fresh new version of Dawn. There's been no changes to this theme except for renaming it. And it's using the latest version of the theme, 15.0.2. This customization should work with any of the other free Shopify themes like Sense, Origin, Refresh, and so on. And while I haven't fully tested it on any of the older versions of the free themes, they should work as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to make some changes to the theme code, and we're going to create some meta objects and metafields. Now, before you make any changes to your theme, just make sure to duplicate it first. So if you make any changes that go wrong or it doesn't quite work the way you expect it to, it's just easier for you to go back to your previous version. So we don't need to do that because we've already just created this theme, but make sure you do that first. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to create a meta object. And to do that, you can go to the settings and then custom data area here. And we're going to add a definition. And then in here, you're going to give it a name and add some fields. Now, we already actually created this earlier, so I'm just going to show you the meta object we created. So we called this comparison chart entries. Just make sure to use this name because this type here is found in the code, so it needs to be this exact name right here. Next, you have 4 fields. The first one, we're going to call it name, and it's by default going to be using this field as the display name. This just gives you an idea of what the meta object is. So if we come to our meta object examples, like this display name here is what defines all those, just makes it easier for you to know what all these different columns are. And we are going to define a single line text, 1 value, and we're going to make it required. The next one is the column title. So this one is also a single line text. You don't have to make it required, so just column title, single line text. Next is the column title image, and then this is going to be a file. It's going to be a single file. You probably just want to make it images and not video. And then the column entries. This one is going to be a single line text as well, but in this case, make sure it's a list of values. This is what's going to be the different rows for your column, so it needs to be defined as a list. And then you're done. So once you've done that, you can save, and you've created your meta object. Now, the names here are also really important. So column title column title image, column entries. Make sure to use these exact names because code is going to be looking for those values. So once you've created your meta object, then you can go into products and create your meta field. And so you would add definition and type in your information. And similar to last time, we've already created that meta field, so I'll just show it to you here. So in this case, we called it comparison chart column 1. This is not as important to be exactly this because you are going to be specifying this key into your theme editor. So you can name it whatever you want, so long as you can grab the key here and put it into the theme editor to match the column that you want. And if you need multiple columns that are product specific, then you can create a 1, a 2, a 3, and then you're going to need to grab the key for each one of those meta fields. Everything I'm talking about right now is if you need the dynamic version of the tables. If you just need it static, it's just going to be the same for every product or for every collection, then you don't need to worry about this quite as much. But if you do want different tables for each product, then you're going to need the product meta field. And if that table has multiple columns that are different for each product, then you're going to need to have multiple of these. But we're only showing one as an example. So we set it up here called comparison chart column 1, and it's going to have this key. And the most important part here is that it's going to be type meta object with a reference of the meta object that we just created, the comparison chart entries. Similarly, with the collection meta fields, we kind of set it up the same way, right? We can call it whatever you want. In this case, we called it collection comparison chart column 1. It's going to have this key. This key is going to be needed for your settings later. And again, it's meta object, type meta object with comparison chart entries. And so you can set those up as well for yourself if you need dynamic tables on your collection pages. So different tables for each collection, or have certain collections have tables and certain ones don't. Okay, so once you've set that up, then you can come back to your themes area, and now we can edit code. And the code editing process is actually pretty straightforward, so don't worry. You just need to add one file in here. So to do that, you just create a new section. So we come here, sections, add new section, and we're going to make it a liquid file, and it's going to be called comparison chart custom.liquid. Oh, sorry, you don't add the liquid there because it's already there. So done. And we just copy and paste our code. And that's essentially it. We just need to save it. Now, before I save it, I actually want to go into our theme editor first. Let's go to the products page. Okay, so if we try to add a section here, you can see here there's no option for comparison table. But once we save it and we refresh, add section, this option is now available. And so by creating that new section file and putting that code in there, we've now created our product comparison table. So let's make this our original t-shirt. We've got a lot of products that have a similar name, so let's just navigate it through here. There, original t-shirt. Okay, so we have our product comparison table here. It shows up here, but it's blank. So let's add some columns in. And we are going to use some of the meta objects we created previously, just instead of going through the whole process from scratch. But we are going to create some new columns as well, so you can see how that works. So let's first use the, so there was one meta object called demo1 feature list. Okay, so there's that one. And then we had demo1 the prompted. Okay, and then we had demo 1, alternative 1. Okay, so these are meta objects we've already created. That's why I was able to just type them in and it shows up. But we're going to create our own columns because for you, you're not going to have pre-made meta objects. You're going to need to actually know how to make them yourself. So let's use this last column as an example for that. So we can come back to our meta objects area. So now that you've created your comparison chart entries, you can come in here and you can add entry. For you, this is probably going to be all blank. There's no options here, so you'll add an entry. And this is what you're going to do. So you give it a name. You can name it whatever you want. This is just for your own reference. So we can call this video example 1. And this here is the column title. So we have here, this column title. So if we type it in, it's going to show up here. If we add an image, it'll show up like this. So for the sake of simplicity, let's just make this simple. So we'll call this YouTube. And then here is we add all of our rows. So the order that they show up here is going to be the order that they show up on this table as well. And so here you have to kind of map out what your table is going to look like. Because if you have some columns with 4 items, some column with 5 items, some column with 3 items, then what it's going to happen is it's going to just go through the list in the order that it sees them. So to make sure that they align, you have to make sure that the first row here represents the data you want in the first row, and the second row here is the one you want in the second. Remember, if we wanted a blank one, then that's what the skip option is for. So that's how you can get that spacing in between if you wanted it to skip a value. So we can do here a few things. Let's type in some information. So we could call it, put some text in here. Spelling that wrong. We can add some symbols, right? Remember, we had the yes and no symbols. We can have some special formatting items. Special formatting. And we have a skip here, and then thank you. Okay, so this is our this is now our column. Let's save it. We've got five items in here, which matches the number of items in our table here. And we called this, what do we call this? Video example 1. So let's copy that handle and place it right in here. Oh, sorry. Let's go to column. Let's go to this last column and put it in here. There you go. So now we have created our last column, right? So we've got our title there. We have the text that we added in there. We've got the check mark because of the yes that we placed here. We've got the blank cell because of the skip. Special formatting with the star up front here, and just regular text thank you here. So that's how you can create a new column, and you just create a new meta object for every column that you need and place them into the comparison column where you want it. Now, another note on the number of rows. So you can see here we have 5, 5, and 5. What it's going to do is the table is going to create the number of rows that matches the column that has the most rows. So what do I mean by that? So in this case, each one of these columns has 5 rows. But what happens if one of them has 6? So for example, we can come here, create a new row here. So this is a new row, and we can even just place it right here for the sake of argument. So we'll save. And you're going to see here now that when we refresh, that this table is going to look a little bit different. So let's actually save this first. And now let's refresh. So you can see here now that the table has 6 total rows. Even though these ones only had 5, right? So it also includes this first row here, the header row. We get a brand new row here because this last column has 6 items. And you can see here, this new row shifts everything down here. So the thank you becomes the 6th row now. So just be aware of that when you set up your tables, you want to make sure the data matches. As for the rest of these settings, we already talked about this earlier in the video. So if you want to know how to use all of this, just go back earlier into the video and watch that part of it. So we're not going to go over all this again, but that's pretty much it. That's a really easy installation process. Just copy and paste into one file, and then you just create these meta objects, which you then just refer it to in this text box right here. And now you've got fully customizable comparison tables. They're customizable with the format, so you can make it look however you want. And they're also customizable because they're dynamic, which means you can have different tables for different products. You can have some products with comparison tables and other ones don't have them. Same with the collections. There's really a lot of power that you can do. And this is just one single section. You don't have to have multiple different sections with different table formats. All right, so I hope that helps. This customization packs a ton of features. You can customize it however you want with fonts, colors, formats, and you can make it dynamic. So each product can have a different table if you want. And it also has a really simple installation process. So I don't think there's any reason why you shouldn't be adding this to your store. Again, if you want a free personalized action plan to increase your conversions, or you want to hire us for any other personalized help, just check out our website, theprompted.co. But that's it for today, and I'll see you in the next one.